the best of times, you walk me through my darkest days. Why must I turn around? I ask myself. This just ain't fair, so hard to bear. I'm not really sure these days, You walk me, you talk to me. Hard to bear.
Montawa, Salonama. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to the show Fosrash week on show. A big thank you as always for tuning in to Gaeilge Weekly. Míle buíochas mars chunach as a bheith ag túnal isteach week Gaeilge Weekly. The Irish Language Podcast, the most listened to Irish Language Podcast worldwide, and Putcar Gaeilge is Mo Dhaoine that comes out every Wednesday with 3 different versions. A Hagan amach, gach Céadaoin le 3 lagan tifriúil. How are we doing? Comes Talmud on Tachtan show. It is Tuesday morning as I record this Madsen to Morts atá agus Misha ag tafadu Turkanish right now, and not feeling as good or as I guess as full of energy today as I was yesterday. Nila maids cén le fuinneamh agam an yo, mar bhí agam an é. If you listen to the other 2 versions of the podcast, most rather will tónéis the clash on dá lagam eile san fud credit. You'll hear I was in great form. I was still in good form, but just a bit more tired this morning. Beauty níos thirsty Madsen. I was saying on the other 2 versions of the podcast we make Larts an dá lagans and fud credit eile. Maybe I was just in good form because of Galway's win on Sunday, but it's just grál me ag mothú go maith mar gheall bhua na Gaillimhe an Domhnach Galway. If you didn't know, if you don't follow the GF, you don't follow Gaelic football, must rather not mean to a leanúint. Gaeilge Galway were playing Mayo on Sunday in the Connacht finals, so vi Gailge vi gimmert na Mayo an sin sa chluiche ceannis Connachta an sin an Domhnach, who's a Castlebar up in Castlebar on the weekend. And what's always a big game, it'll only been such in mar chluiche war. Of course, a lot of the time, probably every second year, if not more often than that, the Connacht final ends up being Galway versus Mayo. But there's gach darabhlíonn no few níos minice being Gailge vigmar tonight Mayo sa chluiche ceannis, basically, unless Roscommon get dark together. And one will Roscommon ag déanú ein rud speisialta an sin being say Gailge in Mayo ag puinte aigen ure an chraibh so at some point during the championship. And it's always a big day. I wish I was there. And some of those days where I wish I was still living back at home. Ceann na leichen the sin, like bevráil an bheith arás agus honnig mé bhí an green ag taitneamh agus níos mó ná 50,000 duine ann, more than 20,000 people there at McHale Park ag Port McHale, who's on sin na Mayo. So it looked like a great day, you know, obviously a bit better day in the end if you were a Galway supporter. Most rather go to ag leanúint na Gaillimhe. Bígí níos fearr mar gheall an nua ach le haontach a bhí ann it's a great game anyway, much better definitely than the Kerry-Clare game that was on before. It was níos fearr cinsa ná a chluiche idir Kerry agus an chlár roimhe sin. I guess that's the problem with the Munster Championship. But sometimes you have then Connacht as well, because there's 2 teams that are much better than everyone else. Tá Gá Éireann agus beidir tá Eipeasóid níos mó actually. He's Google. This problem is probably bigger down in the province of Munster. There are Gá Éireann, so Cork agus Kerry, when you have 2 teams, Cork and Kerry, who are much better than everyone else, so on níos fearr ná gach den eile. If those 2 are on the same side of the draw and they meet before the final, you'll má bhuaileann siad go héile ribh a chluiche ceannis. Well, then the final itself often can be a bit of a non-event. Ní bhíonn mór an really simul ar siúl na spragal ar siúl sa chluiche ceannis. Tá is a gach then everyone knows really who is probably going to win, you know, chéadtá seans ma acu chun dúchant. But yeah, it was a good game. You know, it's, I guess the pity is not going through that like in the past the kind of final, let's say, was big for 2 main reasons. Bhí an chluiche ceannis i gconacht like an the war agus bhí gá chúis le sin. So the first reason, a chuid chúis ná to win the game itself, to win the Connacht title, to win your province and to pick up some silverware, just the game itself. Hon cluthe é haon a bhúchans, hon churan a bhúchans to win a cup, agus hon an chonachta a bhúchans to win the Connacht title. But as well as that, before, it also gave you a much easier path going forward in the All-Irelands. Bhí Cosan no tro uad níos éasca agat an sin ag leanúint sa rá go crave Ilan a Heron to the All-Ireland Championship. So you'd go straight to the quarterfinal, have an easier draw in the quarterfinal, who tú Dírec go tí an chluiche ceathrú ceannis, hí tarrant níos éasca agat sna chluiche ceathrú ceannis, and then the loser would have to go to the round 4, was it the last round of the qualifiers, on bout the Déanta na qualifiers, sna bout the Céadaoin. You'd have a relatively tough draw, just by Kildare, Donegal, or Meath, or someone half decent for Emirates like Dunleal, no Cundinamee, no, you know, Otskins Marche, Otskins Soch, Dakar, on Emirates. And then after that, you'd be facing against a really good team in the quarterfinals. Vechtu hon a bheith Emirates in I for an Anawa, sna cluiche ceathrú ceannis, na Curie, no Block Lee, no Fern, a Louis, a Grave Hain. So one of the teams that won their own championship or their own province. Well, now, I mean, if anything, Mayo actually have a slightly easier route going forward than Galway. Tá beidir bailach nó slí beagnaí níos éasca ag Mayo ag Lance Rye a Seol Mac ná mar atá ag Gaeilge because of this new format they have, or the format that was brought in a few years ago. By the way, this is going to be a quite sport-heavy episode. I know I don't talk about sport much on the show, and even make lots between sport and nummercha on so, but I do it from time to time. This is going to be mainly sport. I'll get to Feria de Sevilla, which is the big festival that's on here this week by make lots for Feria de Sevilla. An féile mór nó éonach mór a bhaid Seol níos déine. Well, tá sé Seol an taclan seo ach by mé leir faoi níos déine an show seo. It's on this week. It's already on now, starting today. But I'll be speaking about it later on in the show, just to warn you. If you want to go listen to a non-sport episode, feel free. There's loads of them back in the catalogue. A long episode le fáil on Sinner Gaeilge Weekly nach muinen leis on sport. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame because it doesn't mean quite as much. But still, I think with sport, it's easy to always people get so worried or so into what's the next thing. You know, oh, we want to win this cup because it qualifies us for this. Tamagiri and current a bhuachans mar an sin by its cáiliche don chéad rodella. No, whatever. We want to improve our goals difference. We can then get into this round. That'll help us get into this. But you should just enjoy if you're watching a game. You just want your team to win, just to win on that day as well. Ceapan man táú ag féchans ar chluiche. You know, be ceart go méid tú ag éirí gomún siad an lá sin just honna chluiche sin a bhuachan sin, not to be worried about the next thing and the next thing. Always, I hate that in boxing or may sfúla me sin sa darnálaíocht nó MMA nar bhuan duine éigen agus, you know, bhí stig tréinál le 3 ceithre cúg bhí anús an treid seo agus bhuaí siad agus écht do chreidsa atá. They were training for 3, 4, 5 months going into this, and it's a brilliant achievement, écht do chreidsa. But then the first thing they get asked by the interviewer straight afterwards is, oh, so who would you like to fight next? Like, you know, cin duine a bheits tú ag tríd an sin mar chéad den eile. Tá sé like, what? Like, why in the world are we focusing on that? We'll talk about that in a few weeks. Someone's not allowed to sin ag gan cúpla seachtain. Can we not speak about the amazing thing he or she has just done a rud do chreidsa tá Déanta ag an duine seo, ag an lad seo, ag an galín seo, and the training they put in. This is the end. This isn't the start of the next thing yet. Talk about that in a few weeks. It's speisialta lauert faoi sin ag gan cúpla seachtain. So I think sometimes, well, life in general, but sport, we're so obsessed with the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Sometimes, again, you'd have a team winning All Ireland in the football or the hurling, or in the, you know, Boone, Fern, Craven and a Heron. So the máíocht nó sa fel Gaeilge agus an sin on Cade Road, the first thing that the commentators are talking about is, oh, can they win 2 in a row, 3 in a row? It's like, why not just focus on today? Cin fáin nach bhfuil tú an just giro isteach air in you. But anyway, that's a little rant over in relation to that. But yeah, it was a good game on Sunday. Cluichíntaach a bhí ann an Domhnach. I think when you're supporting one of the teams that are involved, it's always tough to figure out how good a game it is. Nuair tá tú ag taú le ceann san na fearna, tá Portach, tá sé beidir beagán níos deachara like is a bheith agat céadh ma in lá éire atá an chluiche. Mar, you know, if you're watching a game as a neutral, you can tell whether it's entertaining or not. Ma tá tos ag féchan sér mar neutral, tá agat, you know, an bhfuil sé siamsúil nó man bhfuil. But if you're supporting someone, like, everything seems so important. Every kick, every, you know, time possession is turned over, gach kick, gach turnover. Moille say chomhpháirtíocht sin that you think it's really exciting, but maybe if you were not connected to it emotionally, beidir munará tú ceangal sa leis ó thaobh bhóchúcháin de, maybe you would be like, oh, this isn't a great game. But I think most people are saying it was a thriller, it was a good game. Came down to the last kick. Honnig sé go dtí an kick déarnach an sin ag deire an chluithe. Poor, I forget your man's name, number 9 for Mayo. Poor lad. He was very upset about it, that he missed at the end. Someone had to hit the shot, and realistically, you probably miss those more often than you hit them, so it's not a big deal. Really, Gaeilge tatu hun na cín sin a chailúint níos mincha ná mar tatu chuní the scoreall, so it's come leis. That's what I'd be saying to him anyway. And yeah, Galway were lucky in that perspective. An tá Gailge chlí, because we got a black card with about 30 seconds to go. Forman's court of Dove, it's a truck a second Falca. I think it was Johnny Heaney, Captain Johnny Heaney of his own. And I presume if that match had gone to extra time, Capam, mas rudé gorachach and cléthe sin gone Brescia, I presume that black card then carries over, and Galway would have had a man less for the first 10 minutes of extra time. Vech imror awan níos lua Gailge no chéad zet nóméid to an Brescia, so it would have been very difficult to win from that point onwards. Fecha anzachar an buchans on buinte sin Ryan. It's funny, literally all my life, Galway Mayo matches, especially in Connacht finals, it always comes down to the last point. I remember 2008, 2009, the first 2 Connacht finals. I remember a chuimhníam. I remember them both come down to the last kick. Galway winning with the last kick 2008. Gailge ag fáil an bu an sin I gabhfuil sa hocht, agus an sin gabhfuil sa ní, RIP Michael Jackson. Whoever gets that reference, the famous t-shirt being lifted over. What was your man's name? Mortimer? Or no, Rudding Zula Shin, but she had RIP Michael Jackson written under his jersey for when he scored, which is not something you do in the GAA, but it's a iconic moment, I guess. Rolegan agus Lomaid, iconic atá gceist nár thug sé sús an Ganzi agus bhí rest in peace Michael Jackson scrífa an sin léana bán faoin Ganzi Pella under the football jersey. But they're always great games, always great occasions, whether it's in Saltill or Castlebar. So yeah, it was good to watch, and so lucky as well that, like, imagine living in Spain 20 years ago or 30 years ago, you'd have no chance of watching a Connacht final from here. And you've actually chance or bit ad on féchans chluiche ceannis chonachta an seo is Seville. Even 15 years ago would have been tricky, even 10 years ago a bit trickier, but probably from about, 2010 onwards with the RT player, on which other stuff as well, VPNs and dodgy boxes and different things that people use, VPNs, dodgy boxes, really tifrola. I mean, úsáideach daoine, it's much more possible nowadays, and it's much more achievable to watch a match like that, or watch any match really around the world, chun féchans or péchlethe, Seol simple on down. So yeah, that was good. I really don't like this format. I don't like using the word. I hate Gnáthleagan and Fuckle is full on úsáid, but I really don't like this format they have now going forward. It should just be, I think, straight knockout, the 16 teams that they have going forward. The way they picked the 16 teams and having it tiered with the Tailteann Cup an chuid óilteachú inis leis an Tailteann Cup agus comála sin the Sam Maguire, the full competition, the normal, Crayville and a Heron, All Ireland. I think that's good. But, and I think the smaller teams like it, Capam, na Fern and níos lú, that níon sé sin lob freshen. But it's just this thing of then the groups, Galway and Kerry and Mayo, for example, are going to play 3 matches now. Sure, what difference is it going to make? They're probably going to be in the top 3 of the groups at the end. Maybe Mayo won't be. Who knows? Maids are not my Mayo. No, who knows? Mayo are struggling to Mayo extracles beginning. But let's say Galway and Kerry, for example, or Donegal, are the favourites. Sure, they're going to have no trouble finishing top 3 out of 4. You would think. Ní bhaid aon triplodzi, no ní bhaid aon strackle taku, a creitnú sa chéad stríots, on sins the groupies. They go on anyways. Or even if they had this group system, fiú leis an rúpa seo, no an chorus group seo, just have it the top 2 go through. Do it like a World Cup group. It'd be so much better. Not make sure what níos fearr. Captain Sarah Reynolds, I think, at least. Or just do straight knockouts. I think there's a lot to be said about knockout football. Captain like goil knockout football, no knockout sports, because in a ralt the goal sig hintach dar lumpsa, in my opinion anyway. Because there's so much on the line. Tasha called Tavatuk Shin. And with these kind of groups, and you have it in loads of different sports. Tasha Adnish, the lawn sports Tifrola, for example, the World Cup next year. I think it's going to be like 2 teams out of 3 team groups going through. In the Euros now, 3 teams from each group goes through, being 3 earn as chur earn and that group ag dulgtí an chéad bhát eile. It's like for the big teams, you have so many second chances. Tá mates in dar Seansanna, like gach for war, stolchags and favourites. And something I think special about straight knockout, and more things can happen and you have to win. And you know, the idea with these competitions on smuoine stokers on conchap leis na chomhpháirtíocht seo is, let's say if you have the FA Cup or the World Cup or something, you're trying to figure out who's the best team. Tá tú gurí fálamach céhé an earn is láidir. You know, the idea of the All-Ireland is you're trying to find out who is the best team in all of Ireland. So céhíad an earn is far in Éireann, you know, Éireann Ullán on the island. So if you lose, whatever about losing one game, because things can always be a bit unfair, bad referee's decision, you're playing away from home, tá tú gimmert as baile, beidir, you know, cinna éigean on réitsorgs, the ruddy me fair also, whatever, you can lose one, okay. But then to lose 2 or 3, hon gá no 3 cléthe a Highlands, can you really say you're the best team in the country? And féidir that in lá éire ará gohfuil tú mar or gohfuil sibh mar an earn is láidir sa tír? I don't think so. I think that was good. Now, there are a lot of disadvantages with the old formats. Bhíonn míbhán táistí leis an sean format. Ach, ceann an rudí is fearr, one of the best things was you couldn't lose the second game. So you could lose in your province, but then from there, or you could win your province, but from then on, once you were in the All-Irelands, you could not lose, otherwise you were gone. You were out to an cléthe Highlands, no vitu imiha. Or even the old way they did it before, I think 2000 it changed, Captain Savelin Gaeilge Weekly, but before then, it used to be really hardcore, like if you lost in your province, you were gone. It was just the All-Ireland was the 4 provinces, the 4 winners of the provinces, Cur Bútsor, you know, Bútsor won ó gach cúige. They went to the semi-finals of the All-Ireland. There was no quarterfinal, no qualifiers, no preliminaries, and then it just went from there. Don't forget, if you enjoy Gaeilge Weekly, we've loads more to offer for people learning Irish on Learn Irish Online. You can head over to our main website to sign up for one of our courses. All of them are self-paced and lifetime access, so you can do them whenever you want. That's learnirishonline.com for the courses, or you can become a member on Patreon. You get access to a load of different shows exclusively as a member. Léaréis, éisteacht, éasca, líofa, button no smuointí sahern, and so on. You also get bonus episodes of Gaeilge Weekly, and you now get a list of all the most difficult vocab and their translations from each episode, but only as a member over on Patreon. Links are down below and more details are available there, or email me at liam.learnirishonline@gmail.com if you have any doubts, queries or Ceisteanna. Míle buíochas ar ais chuig an show. Agus leanúint rá as sin. And I know, listen, there's different interests. So of course RTE and GA Go and the GA itself coming to Cascoil agus radio television Éireann agus GA Go by sheets and Agiri going níos mó cluiche. They want more games and more games around the country. That's one of the cool things about this format is there's a lot more games outside of Crow Park. Tá wad níos mó cluiche tíbhamwe. So for Crowkig growing up, there were, you know, in Pierce Stadium in Galway, you'd only really ever get let's say games in Connacht, so against Sligo and Roscommon, you never get to see other teams coming down. And over the last few years with the Super 8s in this format, slash the Super 8s in the format, so anish you get to see Monaghan and Dublin. I think Dublin are playing now in Salthill next weekend. My Block Clia, Gimmerts, Mochern Straw, and Jershat and Shahugan. So you get to see more teams play around the country, and I really think Crow Park should just be the semi-finals and the final of the All-Ireland's Capam, you know, Becartits. Cluiche Lacianish agus an Cluiche Canish a chur I borch on Crowkig, but everything else should be outside. It would keep Crow Park matches more special. Vec na Cluiche an sin I borch on Crowkig ní speisialta, and as well as that, you know, it's much cooler. If I was following Galway, I'd much prefer to go watch us play whoever, Kildare in Newbridge. Vec so wad ní sfar hon dulgan Newbridge hon Cluiche Gaeilge Eáil in Eicelara in Ott, both of us going up to Dublin, you know, on Vertsagoin on Dá Éireann and Stoke Dul, come Lá Clia, or even a few years ago there was a Galway Mayo game up in Dublin. It's like, what are you doing? I don't know if anyone remembers, I'm really getting deep in the GA here. I'm not even that big of Gaelic football man. You may like an agafa leis an Gaeilge. But I do like this time of year and the championship and the summer and the Sunday game and everything else. It's great. And I think when you live abroad as well, and they're taught to Idachoni, Harlar, you kind of appreciate it more as well because you realise it's part of your culture. I think in Ireland we have a thing where we don't think we have that much culture in Ireland. It's been woods like capu in there and not well more in culture again. And you don't think anything of walking up to your local pitch and watching whatever your club senior team play against some other team in the championship. And even to explain the fight, it's just Gnáthleagan atá ann. It's a normal thing to go up and watch your local team, the Iarnátsúil, like Immerts and I, whoever. So crave, and then you come abroad and you realize unbelievable, like it's all players from the same town. There's no transfers, there's no money, and all these things. When you grow up around something, of course, they're into fásu and níos timpeall ar and just Gnáthleagan atá ann. Ní bhíonn really smaoin of rud on a war atá ann. But yeah, definitely moving abroad, you kind of appreciate that more, and you realize, oh, it's really cool, and it's such a big part of our culture. It's rud chomhpháirtíocht. Dar culture hanging arash in Éireann. But yeah, if you think back, it must have been 10 years ago at this point when Mayo played Kerry in the All-Ireland semi, and I think there was a NFL game on a Crow Park or something. Ceapan go cluiche NFL their the Bork and Crowchig, and they had to play the game in Limerick. So an All-Ireland semi-final replay, I think Immerts agus who on cluiche a chur siúil in Limerick, the Gaelic grounds there in Limerick. It was one of the best games ever, one of the best atmospheres ever. Ceann the Clee is far leavers, Ceann the atmosphere is far reeve. It was the game where the Mayo fan ran onto the pitch and it took like 5 security or 6 security to get him off. But to come daoine and on the Cuimhne or sin, people might be able to remember that. There's a great video of it, I think, called Rotund Mayo Man has a word with referee or something on YouTube. It's unbelievable. These lads watching on telly and describing what's happening. The lads jog féchan ser an telefís agus sig gentle Kershis cad tá ag tarlú. But it was an unbelievable day. I remember Donaghy and Aidan O'Shea was still playing well. Aidan O'Shea was playing this weekend as well. He's still gone. Aidan O'Shea fós ag Immerts. No late in the show. Must have been 2014 or 2015. Bit of Gavid's carta no Gavila is chuid. I think even the semi-finals could be around the country, but obviously you have to use Crow Park for something at some point. So I guess the semis or the final, in my opinion, should be on Crow Park, and that's it. Put the other games, quarterfinals, neutral venues, put them down in the Gaelic grounds, put them in wherever, Ennis, don't put them in Salthill. The traffic will be too bad. Bainstracht, Rochonna and sin imór an Srá, Machern too on Sinid. But yeah, it's special, the All-Ireland Championship, and they're bringing in a new format next year, and I hope it goes back. Well, I actually kind of understand the format. It's you have to win 2 out of 3 games next year, so it is a bit better. There'll be less second chances or less third or fourth chances. Nivain made sin says 3 chances, no carhu chances. So I think that'll be better, and I hope it keeps the magic and brings back some of the magic. But equally nostalgia can play a part here, and you're always thinking, when you're younger, there are a lot of problems with the old format as well. You'll on 5 minute leis on Shan format, comma. So yeah, and it's good nowadays, instead of it just being Kerry and Dublin, there's a lot more teams. I mean, this year, Armagh could win it, Donegal could win it, tá chance Gordawaka, tá chance Dundonall, Galway could win it. You can't rule out Mayo, they got to the league final. Ní féid slat rá ní léon chance Mayo, tricksheed an Glechi Canis and sin sa Shrá. Galway definitely have a chance. Tá chance to Gaeilge, Kerry, Cumhma, Cork as well. You never know. Could come true and could surprise people. But it's a good chance at Cork. And when the winner of Meath or Louth comes through, you can't really rule them out as well if they're provincial champions and they've bet Dublin. Nervai and Cleishin, Idsir on V, Agus Cunninlu, Seol and Tearshat and Shaw and Bootsor, as and Gleishin. Ní féidir leat rá nach bhfuil chance acub, especially if it's Meath after they bet Dublin go háirithe mas rud é ghfuil an bhí an sin, mar bhuaigh siad sin na Bláclia. So a lot of teams that can win, and it feels more like the kind of early 2000s, late 90s, when there was all these different teams like Kildare and Meath and Galway and all competing, even Westmeath one year and all the rest. But I think that's good when there's more than just Kerry, Tyrone and Dublin who are up first. Tá sé sin níos fearr tá níos mó ná just Kerry, Tyrone agus an Tíreile, an Chunnéile a dúirt mé an sin Bláclia. Tá siad sin. If Ent and Dublin don't have a chance this year, you would say, but who knows? They've surprised people before. Beidir go bhfuil chance ag Bláclia. So yeah, it's funny, I was watching the snooker as well at the weekend, and the snooker, it's just finished last night actually as I record this. Tá sé díreach tar éis Creeknew a rare agus Mishag Tafadú. And one thing that's really cool about the snooker, the World Championships were on in Sheffield. The World Championships, crave down there Seol and sin in Sheffield. And it's cool because they have the exact same format as they had in the 80s and in the 70s. The format Díreach mar an ggéanna mar bhí sé sna seachtaidí agus na hogtaidí. It's just you've 32 players, tá burt I mór trocha an sin, 16 seeded, 16 unseeded, a draw at the start, straight knockout. Ní léon dar chance, there's no second chance. You know, mas rud ag gaiileann tú mar hapla Kyron Wilson, for example, Kyron Wilson, who won last year with Martin Sampion an Uri. He played the first game this year, first round, lost 10-9 in frames. Gaeilge said Zet and Lee are from me, gone. No second chance, and there's no kind of preliminaries, there's no special draws or backdoors or group stages or aggregate scores, no inroad marsin. It's the exact same format as years ago, the exact same venue, so not Céanna, so onad Céanna, on format Céanna. And I really like that, and it adds something to it, and the tradition of the Crucible and Sheffield and tradition like bunch the Sheffield and Crucible, and so many sports have changed so much. And again, this can be nostalgia, and I'm sure things weren't as good as before. You're already, chumhpháirtíocht, or things weren't as good before as we think they maybe might have been Gnáthleagan bits and already chumhpháirtíocht sin mar a bhín moille ag smaoin of Céadaoin. But even F1 is watching the weekend, and they've got the sprint race and different rules now, as opposed to just back in the day, it was qualifying Saturday, race on the Sunday, and qualifying our shoulder and Saturn and Sunday Ross air on Dhaoine. And it does feel like some sports is being watered down too much as well, with different events now. You'd have, let's say, Formula One, there's like 24 races a year. When I was growing up, it used to be 17 or 18, and I'm fairly young. Tá Sochog, I'm only 24 years old. Misha Carabblina is fehadish. So I just feel like some sports are being watered down, and just too many details, and overcomplicating it, and giving too many chances to people like Tuairteanna mar Seastanna dhaoine. And we should be getting back to the idea, if you have a championship or not a league, because a league is different, but if you have a championship or a cup, on Curanad, no crave, the idea is trying to find the best team or player. Tá Bígí you'll follow Mac Céhé on Timor Sfar, no Céhé on Iran Sfar. So why don't we just do that straight knockout, and if you lose, you're gone. But of course, it's because more games in group stages and more money for TV and everything, and more money for the players. Normally, it's going to be níos maith airgid freshen line in Himmery. So it's tough to say. But I think knockout sport is good. Hence the name of the podcast this week, Knockout. So yeah, Céadaoin, that's the sports section finished. Sin a chuid a bhfuil leis an sport, Creicnithe. Feria is starting this week. A lot of you guys might not know what Feria is. Feria. You've been living abroad for a while when you pronounce R as R instead of or, as we say in Ireland. But people don't understand it. Even if you're speaking English here, if you want to go to so agus caithí do rud ag an litru, you have to spell something. They're like, or they'd be making fun of you. Like, see, I'm sure other people Irish living abroad have had the same thing. Tommy Keensa grow an rud céanna no gohfuil an rud céanna fiú ag daoine eile ag éireann eile ina gcónaí thar living abroad. But look it up, because I could try and explain it here. It's very 21st century of me, but it's tough to explain. Tá sé dachar honné a bhíonú. But look up Feria de Sevilla de DE. So they're just Feria, it'll come up. And being Seol, Harter and Amshud in Linn. It's on around this time of year every year. Gach blin, normally 2 or 3 weeks after Easter. Ga seachtain or 3 seachtain taréis na Cásca. So it kind of depends on when Easter falls. So Brahan say cahan na hitsin on Chosk. And it's basically one big party. Feria means like a fair, like éisteacht, as Gaeilge, AONACH. A fair or kind of party or just event or kind of gathering, really, bailúcháin, really, atá I gceist so not so. And a lot of it's based around like flamenco and the old school kind of traditions, or the old way in Seville and Shansteel, like San Chanos, some flamenco, Sevillanas, Chin and Tanam, on Ceisteanna as well. That's the name for the type of dance here as well. And if you go as a lad, you have to wear a suit. Mahinthu mar lad, chahithu cully a chahuv. If you go as a girl, you have to wear not just a dress, but a flamenco dress. Chahithu guna flamenco a chahuv. It can be a bit like exclusive as well as 1,000 casetas. There ain't like casetas. Caseta, that's just like a marquee or a little kind of tent, and inside each caseta there's a bar and a party basically going on. And out of the 1,000, there's only 15, I think, that are open to the public. Nílach beidir cuaig cheantaig tá oscailte don phobal. So that's one thing that I don't like, but you kind of have to know someone who knows someone to get into these different casetas, which is where the good party is. Sin an áit so bhfuil stócha an zá chóisir agus an chóisir ma. But outside of those casetas, I think went to next casetas sin, in terms of the open ones, the public ones, the Keen Pibly, normally it's packed with people, it's not as fun, it's a bit generic. So it can be a bit kind of exclusive and even a bit, for me, I don't really like it too much. Ní haithníonn sé go mórlam, but it's still really cool to see, and people going around with hats and on the horses and a couple, agus leis na hataí. But equally, it's not my culture, you know, so it's not that I'm giving out about it or thinking it shouldn't happen, not at all. I think it's brilliant, and I think it's so cool to live somewhere that's so cool of Machoni and Áitseagan, where they still have those things. They still, you know, going to Feria this week would be the exact same, I'd imagine, as how it was going to Feria 100 years ago. You know, it's very untouched and preserved. Tá sé díreach mar bhí sé na blintóhéin, it's all in this one area called Feria, and just on the other side of the river, an taobh it's in Awan. And it's cool, but equally it's not my culture. So, you know, being here, for example, the things that are important to me, it's so important to me to be able to speak the language. Tá sé called tábhachtach dom chun na bheith in an teanga labhairt. It's really important for me as well to have Spanish friends and be, you know, hanging out with people from here and who live here full time. Tá sé called tábhachtach dom chun cuairte Spáinneacha a bheith am and seo, agus bheith cathbháma leis na Spáinnig and seo. But then other stuff like that, you know, especially when something really kind of Sevilla based, and it's just not that important to me. And I'm not from here, and almost it's kind of thing of, if they're doing their thing, I don't want to almost be encroaching on that mBéarla event. So Rocky May Law 1, I'll go one day. A lot of people go like every day during the week. It starts today or started last night. Husí sé rare. So we hit the no, yeah, in your demort really. And Toshid chur tús ceart leis, and it'll be on till about Saturday by Seol gotí on Saturn Capam, and then it's over for another year. But it's by far and away the biggest thing that's on in Seville every year. Gone down on a rather small Seville, Irit na Blina. I'm sure it could have subletted the apartments for a good bit of money. I keen to go make fan on along Argad Zahilla as on Orson a chur le fall from Seachtain, but I didn't do that in the year of my shin. I wouldn't do that ní dhéanaan shin. But a lot of people come and travel to see it. But in general, it is very Sevillano, very local to Shan Sevillano on Áitiúil Istócha. It is really cool. Like, look it up. It's very old school, but in a really, really cool way. There's an Seanimseach and Malach éisteacht speisialta, and probably most places it's cash only there, and you know, it's really something special to see. Tá sé an speisialta an feicáil, but it's just not really my thing, not really my type of music, not really my type of vibe. I'll go one day. It's like the Galway races. Tá sé Súla Rossi na Gailge. I'll go one day. I'll really enjoy it. Have great crack with my friends. By crackinta cagam na macórja. But as I'm walking home afterwards, I'll think, that'll do me now for another year. You know, just like you would do with God, or as I would do, right? Mar dhéanann hain ag Rossi na Gailge. One day, plenty, really enjoyable, but I wouldn't want to go again the day after. Near Watlam Dullarich on Ládargan. So yeah, that's it for this week, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Sinead dun Seachtain seo. Gurmí Magi as a bheith ag éisteacht. I'm using my new mic this week. I did last week actually on this version, on the bilingual version, on Lagan Dhaoine freshen via on mic nua áúsáids. So hopefully you hear a bit of improvement in the audio quality, but it'll still take me a few weeks to get to know the mic and to kind of edit a bit differently in terms of the different audio and stuff. But hopefully you hear a bit of an improvement. Le cunne sé by an fios beag chostal an mic agus an fum. Speak to you guys next week. Le Romy live on Seachtain to Huggin. Goodbye and God bless. Slán agus Bannacht.
What must have turned around?